If you have understanding and awareness of what I'm about to talk about, you have the opportunity to jump to the next tier of being human. You have the opportunity to reduce your health complications. You have the opportunity to articulate yourself better and find yourself having more meaningful conversations and meaningful relationships. You have the opportunity to reverse age and look younger. So, what am I talking about? You may be interested now, hopefully. I am speaking about the difference between fight or flight mode and rest and digest mode, or otherwise, how I prefer to call it, response mode. Most people are living in fight or flight mode all day. This means that their body is pumping cortisol, the stress hormone that is causing them to age. It is the same stress hormone that caused me to start getting gray hairs that have not gone away, by the way, at the age of 23. Most young men are balding because of this issue, because of the difference between fight or flight mode and response mode. So I have some notes to bring awareness about these topics, and hopefully give you an understanding of how you can get into response mode, which is where you want to be ideally, which is where you'll be able to reduce inflammation, which is where you'll be able to look younger, think clearer, be sharper, and live a better life overall. So when we are in fight or flight mode, we are reacting. We are constantly reacting to the world around us. We are constantly the victim of external stimulation. Fight or flight mode. Fight or flight mode is also synonymous with the activation of your sympathetic nervous system. This means that your heart is working harder to keep you alive. This means that you are thinking sharper momentarily. You are able to visually perceive things better. Anything that will ensure your survival in a situation where your life is in jeopardy. So this is a biological mechanism that we as humans have been blessed with to survive. But the difference is that we are not being chased around by tigers. We are not being chased around by predators in our modern day. Response mode or rest and digest is where we are able to actually process the information around us without the damage that cortisol does to our body and mind. Now, most people are thinking, are in belief that they're thinking clearly, but they're actually reacting to everything around them. So, from a neurological perspective, what is happening is that the amygdala, your fear center in your brain, sees something as potentially stressful or something that could put your life in jeopardy, and it signals to the hypothalamus, the part of your brain that is known as the command center, that sends messages to the rest of your body. Hey, you need to work harder. We don't know if you're going to survive. And it can be as simple as a social situation. It could be simple as public speaking. It could be as simple as meeting the receptionist at your local gym and you don't know where the conversation will go. So this causes a sort of fear and it makes it feel like you are not going to survive. This causes epinephrine to be released to your bloodstream, to your body, and to your brain, which impairs your thinking. So it's almost like a supercharge of your system so you can survive the situation. But if you are in this state for long enough, what it does is cause inflammation. It makes it so that you cannot think rationally. So the amygdala, which in a way finds minuscule situations such as a conversation or social pressure or not getting a certain opportunity, or the fear of the future, all of these things, what it does is it prevents you from actually using the part of your brain that can allow for you to reason and logic your way to a successful outcome. So this part of the brain is where you really want to train this part of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is the logical part of your brain that allows for proper strategy. It takes the stress out of the situation. You just are thinking sequentially, A to B to C to D, whatever iterations you need to make. This is the place where you are able to sequentially think. You are able to imagine properly. So these two parts of the brain have a sort of inverse relationship. Whenever the amygdala's activity goes up, whenever your body goes into this high inflammatory state, that your prefrontal cortex goes offline. So that means that any sort of rational thinking just goes out the window. That is the same reason why if you get up in front of a good amount of people and you have trouble with public speech, it feels like you're going to die, and it also feels like you blank out. It feels like you don't. Even if you rehearse a speech for quite a while, that fear hits you, and everything just goes out the window. And this goes for anything in life. If you're feeling fear, then you're not able to actually create. You're not able to use the part of your brain that is designated for you to break down the steps, for you to reason and logic. Instead, you go into an emotional, reactive based state where you're irrationally thinking. And when the amygdala is a little bit hyperactive, you can get into these negative thinking loops. These loops that don't. It's almost like you're a hamster in a wheel, and they're not actually solving anything. But this is a direct result of having high inflammation. This is a direct result of being in that sort of fear. This is why people are extremely irritable, and people react instead of respond. So the issue with modern society is that most people are walking around pumping with cortisol. They don't know what the day will bring about, so they are a victim in this life. They are constantly on guard. They're reacting to everything. They're getting upset when they can't, instead of rationalizing that, using that emotion, using that energy, it does not actually serve them. They get sort of addicted almost to this cortisol rush. A lot of people want to feel something, so feeling fear is better than nothing. Response mode is the goated mode. It is where you are unbiased to your external stimuli. You're just processing information as it is. You're not forming an opinion. You're not trying to control anything. You're not going into any sort of animal based reactivity to certain situations, certain conversations, certain people. This allows you to be in states of presence. If you ask me, response mode and presence are of the cut from the same cloth. You're in a calm state. You're in a controlled state. You're in control. You're more conscious of your body's response. You're more conscious of your thinking. You're more aware. And in these states, you can actually break down the necessary steps. You can break down the logic behind a situation, behind a conversation. You can understand someone else's intentions very well. You can communicate what is going on within your mind to someone else very well. You don't feel the grips of judgment, and you can rationally understand that a single conversation does not define you. You can rationally understand that how someone feels about you does not define you. You can rationally understand how someone treats you doesn't define who you are. And this state of being at presence is where you can actually leverage your memory, because our brains are basically supercomputers that store tons of information that we just don't have access to because of this fight or flight response that their fight or flight mode that we go into. When you are in a more present state, you're able to find information that pertains to the certain conversation or certain circumstance or certain task that you are setting out to accomplish or partake in. And when you're able to bring these, you might be able to bring in a memory. You might be able to incorporate a joke. You might be able to incorporate something you've heard in pop culture previously to make what you're doing more enjoyable. Like, imagine if you could be that witty on a whim. This is where ideas flow. This is where you can think deeply on situations. So a lot of people are in these states of judging others, controlling the narrative, completing the loop about other people, creating a fantasy narrative about someone else. But the rational understanding would be that whatever you see in front of you, in terms of a person, is just a snapshot. Like, you don't understand where they've been in the past. You don't understand where they're going to go in the future. You just see certain actions. People see certain actions, and then their mind wants to close a loop. Their mind is scared of the mystery. So on one side, when you're present, you're just taking in information. So you are kind of working with what you have. You are discerning a situation. You're evaluating a situation based on the information that you have. Whereas judgment is it's neglecting what you don't have, and when you neglect what you don't have, that is why it's easy to judge someone else. It's easy to try to close that loop. And a lot of fight or flight it's almost like a fear that you won't be able to understand, or you won't be able to close the loop, or you won't be able to control the information in front of you. So it's a reaction. So when people, we walk around, and in today's day and age, especially with hyperphone stimulation, people are constantly judging each other. They wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is they attribute likes, shares, and whatnot. And they get into these states of judgment without truly being empathetic. So having true empathy is probably a byproduct of being present, and reading information as it comes, and not trying to jump to conclusions. Because when we try to close that narrative, or create that narrative, or close that loop, that is always from fear. That is always from fear of mystery. Like, humans do not like mystery, so they will just try to close the loop as much as possible. Now that I've illustrated the differences between fight or flight mode and response mode, or rest and digest, let me give you some ways in which you can break out of this fight or flight mode. One of the best ways to do so is to get used to meditating. So understanding and being aware of the thinking or the triggers that get you into fight or flight mode. After a prolonged amount of meditation, you will start to notice this cortisol release within your body, this stress response, this increased heartbeat. And now that you might not be able to control it in the moment, but now that you are aware of it, you can exit it. You can shorten that window So meditation to understand how your thinking unravels will help you inevitably combat this fight or flight mode and get you back into response mode. It will make it so that you can consciously begin to take deep breaths once again in these moments. So let's just say you're having a difficult conversation with someone, you start to feel a stress response, you start to feel this cortisol release within your body, you feel your body get extremely heavy, heart beating, very shortness of breath. That is when you begin to, I'm feeling a little bit filled with snot, but you start to take longer breaths, getting the action back, the oxygen back into your brain, and this will help you rationally think and understand that your life is not actually in danger. So it will help you exit that stress response quicker. So meditation is paramount to breaking out of this fight or flight prison. And next, movement as a combatant to fight or flight. When you are, let's just say, your body has released a good amount of epinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol. This all needs to be processed. This all needs to be metabolized, and the best way to do so, simultaneously also releasing endorphins, would be movement. So even just taking a walk. That's why they'll tell you to take a walk if you get stressed, because part of your now your brain has to use. You're consciously making your brain move your limbs, move your muscles, so it has less RAM to just sit idly and think yourself even worse. Because you could literally think yourself into a cortisol, like a situation where your body's overflowing with cortisol. You can think yourself into stress. You can think yourself into a stress response just by having these negative thinking loops about the future, about how a certain situation went, a certain conversation went. Thinking idly and negatively, you can choose to use your thinking to move your body. You can do some sort of resistance training. You can walk. You can get a run in. And this also helps get you into response mode because you're feeling less of a threat. You don't see the external circumstance or the external stimulation as much of a threat because you've already put yourself through some stress response and you've survived. So every single time you survive or conquer a fear, so it could be even as simple as taking a long run. Or for me, I do a 40-minute plank in the sauna, and then I also do like 30 minutes to 40 minutes of a cold plunge, and that just immediately puts me into response mode because my brain understands that I put myself through very rigorous tests and I come out surviving on the other end. And just knowing that I don't feel any sort if a predator were to come to my way, I would feel more prepared because I have more control over my mind. So third thing would most likely be to positively think. So you, like I said, you can think yourself into a stress response. You can allow these negative thinking loops, fear of the future, these fears that prevent you from actually moving or putting puzzle pieces down to eventually see the whole picture. You can allow these things to release this cortisol every night, all the time, slowly degrade your body. And then also it's a snowball effect because you see how much it's stressing you out, and that stresses you out now too. Or you can consciously start choosing your thinking, and this kind of coincides with the first one, which is meditation. You to be able to consciously choose your thoughts, you have to be able to meditate, and bring your thinking back and notice your thinking, be aware of it, and then you can begin to kind of rewrite the software. Go from hardware to software to you're writing the code within your brain. You're rewiring it. You're hearing the fear-based programming that you had before, saying that you are not enough and that you are not of value if you don't do X, Y, and Z, or if you don't get said promotion, or if you don't get this thing, or you don't get these metrics online. And then you hear that and you still choose and you say, no, I am of value. And when you say these things too, like even internally, or you verbalize them, your brain will actually pull situations where you felt powerful or you felt a certain emotion, or even if it was like you're making some more money at some point, your brain will bring some sort of these memories back to you, and affirm that. Our brains are powerful in that regard. Like if we are thinking negatively, they will fixate and ruminate on things that are negative, which keep us in this fight or flight, high inflammatory state. And this has been programmed into us from a youthful age. We are constantly in a fight or flight state, trying to compete with 25% rational mind. And yeah, so I've illustrated the difference between response mode and so rest and digest, and fight or flight, and why fight or flight is the reason that most people will never be able to achieve what they want in this life or build the life that they want. And also, fight or flight is the reason why people are aging much quicker, why people are not connecting as much, why people have trouble articulating themselves, opening the gates of their mind, uh, uh, truly helping another understand what is going on with them, and synchronizing brainwaves with someone else. When I say that, it's just a fancy way of saying really just having a great conversation and connecting with someone and releasing oxytocin as a result. Um, so I've illustrated the difference between those two things. If you do want further help on this, I am booking calls. I will help you with your discipline. I will help you align yourself energetically, physically, and mentally. We can clear up any sort of energy blockages that you have in your life. I will help you to get to positively thinking more. Just for a show like a record, I'll show a picture of how I used to look as not just my, physically I look like this, but also that was just a result of what was going on within my mind. So usually your external appearance is a result of your mental contents, the mind's faculty. So I will be booking calls and also doing coaching to help others. Because I find that I would like to make an impact in this way, to help others reverse age, to help others build discipline, to help others lead a better quality of life. So book a call with me, and after that we can see if you're even interested in some sort of coaching. So I hope you found this useful.